Hello everyone, it's Jen from Old Tinkerer Studio, and welcome to part 8 of the Illustrator CC Basics tutorial course. In this tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to use the Appearance panel in Illustrator. The Appearance panel allows you to make changes to various properties as well as the different effects that you can apply to objects. Open up the Appearance panel and let's take a look at what it has to offer. If you do not see the Appearance panel icon, go to Window and click on Appearance. At the top, you will see a section that lets you know if you have anything selected. Right now, I do not have anything selected, so it says No Selection. If I click on either of the texts, you will see in the Appearance panel that it shows that I currently have type selected. If I click on the coffee cup, you will notice that it says Group. And if I double click on the body of the coffee cup to go into isolation mode, you will see that it says No Selection, even though I do have something selected. This is because I'm within a grouped object in isolation mode. If I double click on the body of the coffee cup again, you will notice that it says Path. Underneath this title area, you will see the attributes assigned to this particular path. In this case, I have a 1-point stroke with a color and a fill with the same color. The opacity for both the stroke and the fill is 100%. I can change the color of either the stroke or fill, and I can also change the opacity within the Appearance panel. For example, let's say that you want to make the stroke black. All you need to do is double click on the color and choose black from the swatches panel. You can change the thickness of the stroke if you wish, but let's just keep it at 1 point. Next, let's change the fill opacity to 50%. Click on the word opacity under the fill property and change the opacity to 50% and hit your tab key. Now you will notice that we have a black 1-point stroke and fill of 50% opacity. Since I do not want these changes, I'll reset the opacity and color back to their original properties. And then all I have to do is double click to get out of isolation mode. There's a lot more that you can do with the Appearance panel, which makes it a powerful part of Illustrator. Just like in the Layers panel, you have the ability to change the visibility of any property in the Appearance panel. For example, let's say that I want to hide the inside stroke of the circle. All I need to do is select the circle and then click on the eyeball next to stroke. And now you can see that the stroke is hidden. To bring the stroke back, just click on the box to the far left. You can also rearrange the stacking order of objects in the Appearance panel. For example, let's move the red fill above the gradient fill. Make sure your circle is selected, and then click and hold the red fill and drag it above the gradient fill. Now you will notice that the red fill is much more prominent because it is on top of the gradient fill. To move the fills back to their original positions, simply click and drag the gradient fill back on top of the red fill. At the bottom of the Appearance panel, you'll have the options to add a new stroke, add a new fill, add a new effect, clear the appearance, duplicate an item, and delete an item. In the drop-down menu in the upper right of the Appearance panel, you have even more options. You can add a new fill, add a new stroke, duplicate an item, remove an item, clear the appearance, reduce to the basic appearance, hide the thumbnail, redefine the graphic style, and show all hidden attributes. Now that we know how to use the appearance panel, let's learn how to use multiple fills and strokes. Adding multiple fills and strokes to an object creates depth and texture. Let's work on this Vikings text to make it more complete and rich. Select the Vikings text and make sure that your appearance panel is open. Let's begin by adding a stroke. Click on Add Stroke at the bottom of the panel. Then, using the drop-down menu for the color, choose a light gray stroke. Let's use the one that's 179 for RGB and leave the stroke size at 1. Now let's add a second stroke. Make sure that your stroke is selected and then click on the Duplicate Selected item in the bottom of the panel. Using the drop-down menu from the stroke color, let's go ahead and make this a darker gray. Let's use RGB of 77 and change the stroke weight to 2. Then drag this stroke underneath the first stroke. Then if we zoom in, you can see that there's a very light stroke on the inside and then a darker stroke on the outside. Now that we know how to add multiple fills and strokes, let's learn how to add effects to a project. First, let's select the baseball text and make sure that our appearance panel is open. If you click on the Add Effects drop-down menu, you notice that the effects are broken up into 2 sections, Illustrator and Photoshop. While you can use Photoshop effects within Illustrator, it is not recommended, simply because that they are not going to be as scalable or reproducible as vector artwork. In this case, let's add a drop shadow to the text. In order to add a drop shadow, go to Stylize and Drop Shadow. In the drop shadow window, turn on the preview so that you can see what the drop shadow will look like on the artboard. Let's increase the X offset to 10, which pushes the drop shadow to the right, and let's decrease the Y offset to -5, which pushes the drop shadow up. Finally, let's increase the blur to 7 and decrease the opacity to 45%. When you hit OK, the effect is automatically applied to the text. Let's add another effect to this text. Go back to the Add New Effect drop-down menu and choose Warp and Flag. Make sure the preview box is checked and decrease the bend to 30%. Now that we know how to add effects to a project, let's learn how to save graphic styles. If you create a graphic style that you think you will want to use again in the future, it is a good idea to save the graphic style. In this case, we're going to save the graphic style of the circle. Click on the tab titled Graphic Styles to open it up. Now select the circle, and then click on the New Graphic Style icon at the bottom of the panel. You will notice that the style is automatically populated in the Graphic Styles panel. If you want to rename the style, all you need to do is double click on the thumbnail and change the style name. In this case, I will name it Grid Gradient. In order to use this new graphic style, click on an object, in this case the square, and then click on the red gradient graphic style. The graphic style is now applied to this square. This is the end of part 8. I hope you found this useful. Have a good day.